Good morning, everybody. So, I guess this is our official last video for the semester. I thought it was last week, but that's okay. So, for this last week's video topic, I chose to discuss my experience in an elevator with me and my boyfriend. Um, we're headed downstairs and we ended up stopping at the 22nd floor where there two young kids, and it appears to be a grandfather who jumped into the elevator. The boys were about 12 and 10, I would say, and they were dressed in shorts, regular local style shirts, t-shirt, with slippers. They looked like they spent over like the weekend, and it looked like Grandpa had his time with the kids, and it was time for him to drop off his grandsons back to the parents. That's what it appeared to me. So in the elevator, it was seemingly quiet until the 10-year-old starts singing this random song. I can't even remember. I think it was a Hawaii's national anthem or something. And it was pretty funny because he was just singing and not really caring what he was doing or how he sounded. And, we didn't care. He sounded terrible, but, he still belted out the song all by himself, not even caring about whether or not he's on key. He really slaughtered the music, but we still didn't care. We didn't say anything. But then I guess his grandfather heard enough. So he turned to his grandson, the 10-year-old who was singing off key, and said to him, "If you're not going to sing the song correctly, then don't sing at all." So the kid looks up at him, looks up at us, looking a little bit embarrassed, and stopped. And then it was just pretty much silent, and the air was pretty stiff on the way back down. And then we got off the elevator. It's a very short situation, but I immediately turned to my boyfriend and said, "Oh, it was cute that he was singing," but then my boyfriend looked at the situation very different. He took it as, the grandfather shouldn't have said that. And I said, well, it appeared to me with the backpack that, they obviously stayed over the weekend because it was a Monday and it was time for them to go home. So maybe his grandfather had enough, was pretty, he seemed a little bit on edge and, I guess irritated a little bit. And I took it as, he was just, done with it, and, he had enough. He was, at his limit, I guess. Probably more stuff had happened along the way to get to that point where he wanted peace and quiet. But my boyfriend turned to me and said, well, I don't believe that, any adult, grandfather, mom, dad should discourage or devalue the child when they're trying to do something, making them feel insecure about themselves. And I was taken aback. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right about that too. So we had two different ideas of the situation. I kind of empathized with the grandfather, and then my boyfriend took it as he was empathizing with the grandson, the 10-year-old who was trying to perform. I don't know if he was just just singing just because. It just seems like, he was just singing. He didn't care who the hell was, in the elevator, who was listening. He was just doing his own thing. But so, and wandering back to our semester's topics, writings, technique skills, and what have you. So we both kind of did, my boyfriend and I did somewhat analysis, like how we did in class. We took the situation, we kind of dissected it in our own ways, and coming up with a conclusion what the subtext, the whole thing was about. And of course, we came out with two different ideas or perspectives on the situation. Where I identified the boy as, just having fun and doing whatever. And yeah, he was slaughtering it. He wasn't doing it well. Maybe he was a little bit out of control in a sense, not being respectful. And I kind of took it, where the grandfather had enough, because I'm sure he was doing those kind of antics, leading up to that point, So, like I said, the grandfather was pretty much done, spent, he just wanted his peace and quiet, normalcy back again. And that's how I viewed it, because I already felt the tension once the grandfather got into the elevator. And he looked like, in analyzing him by itself, I looked at him as though, like, with his haircut, how it was cut really short inside, on the side, how he wore his hat was, crisp, had that, like, I don't know how to say it. It's crisp on the folds of it. So, and you can kind of see that in most military guys, how they have it crisps, and it's bent in a certain way and it's straight. And his clothes did not look at all disheveled. It looked like he just ironed it or something. So I viewed him as, or what I thought his background was, is that, okay, here's a guy, older gentleman who had kids. Obviously now he has grandkids. He was in the military, just because of how he still wore his clothes, how his demeanor was, his posturing, his haircut apparently, and his hat, that he came from a military background. So in a military background, I look at it as that everything is pretty organized and it should be the way it should be. And I'm not sure if you ever lived with someone that was in the military, a veteran, or someone now who's present in your life, but my father was in the military, so I seen a lot of that characteristics in this older gentleman here. So in analyzing that, and then seeing the situation, and in the time of day, and in the backpacks, that yeah, definitely this was, a time for departure, but separating, and it was the end of this vacation time with the kids. And I'm not sure how I'm gonna where this is going, but in analyzing and all of that, in this course, we tend to analyze our writing, or what we read, what we see, and looking at the text itself, and then we come up and formulate some sort of subtext of what's happening, or a perception per se. I mean, no one's trying to persuade anything, but in this situation, obviously the older gentleman, pretty much not exactly bullied, but he persuaded the person to stop what he was doing and not to do it again, and to reassess himself of how he's how he's portraying himself. If you're not going to do anything right, if you're not going to sing the song right, don't sing it at all. Do it right. But anyways, so that was that is what I learned from this class pretty much. It is, dissecting a situation like simple as this and formulating some sort of idea or perception of what's happening around me. And then I could not only have I done that in a real life situation, but I can now do it a little bit more when it comes to reading, writing some sort of paper, or uh, taking all the skills and techniques that I've learned along the way to, do this kind of stuff in a real life situation like I just did in an elevator. But that's pretty much about this situation on eavesdropping, and also what I learned or I'm taking away from this class. Prior to this class, I didn't really do too much of this analyzing or breaking down a situation and formulating some kind of idea or making an argument. In the end, it was pretty much reading it and then going along in my own ways. But now I understand it. So when it comes down to writing paper and making an argument, I understand now that when I'm writing, I need to be conscientious of what I'm writing and why I'm trying to persuade my readers to follow along with me and understand the summary or the conclusion and come to the same kind of conclusion, not leaving them, not having any other like alternative for them, but yet giving them a perspective, my perspective, and hopefully that they that I made the argument strong enough so that they are swayed enough to be on my side per se. But anyways, that's the end of this last video. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves during the semester. I did. I learned a lot and I grew from this, and I know a little bit more than in the future when I do research papers, that I can use the contents or the skills or the information that I received along the way in this class. I can put it into my writing, and hopefully, I'm sure of it, that having that, it will strengthen my writing in the future. And I really appreciate that. I really enjoyed my time in this class and getting to know everybody and seeing all your videos and reading all your posts. But I hope the best for everybody, and good luck in all your endeavors. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.